Thank you so much for attending my PowerPoint presentation on Dazzle, the Team Mom. Dazzle is a ranged universal support hero whose most iconic feature is making sure that everyone on your team never dies. The ability that contributes the most to his claim to fame is Shallow Grave, a basic ability that performs a defensive debuff on a friendly enemy hero. While affected by Shallow Grave, heroes cannot be killed through conventional means, and there's only a single-digit number of ways to get through it. This ability makes Dazzle one of the single best counter gankers in the entire game. He can watch the enemy spirit drop in real time as all of the time and effort they invested into getting a gank off suddenly turns into nothing at all. After he's done denying a soul from going to heaven, he can then use Shadow Wave to heal them up and potentially reverse the gank. This is a strange unit target bouncing ability that deals physical damage to any nearby enemy heroes while also bouncing to allies and healing them. In conjunction with its rhyming buddy Shadow Wave helps turn Dazzle into one of the best teamfight healers in the entire game. But before the time arrives for the big ol' 5v5s, Dazzle also has one of the best man-fighting tools in the game in Poison Touch. This makes Dazzle an absolute nightmare to lane against for any enemy heroes that don't have access to dispels or mobility tools. He can just cast this on you and then right-click you, and your best hope is that your lane partner will do something about it. 90% of the time, they will not. Now all of these spells sound pretty good, but maybe a little bit too specific, which is where his ultimate comes in, Nothal Projection. This ability allows Dazzle to exit his body for up to 12 seconds, empowering all of his spells and keeping him in the relative safety of the tree line. Poison Touch will now hex any enemy heroes hit by it, Shadow Wave's cooldown gets cut by half, and Shallow Grave heals whoever it affects at the end of its duration. Lastly, his innate steals armor from enemy heroes and gives it to your team whenever you cast a spell. All of these things combined make a hero who starts the game as an absolute bully, just beating the shit out of you in lane, and later on he transforms into the ultimate Wambulance. He is Dota's equivalent of the mom friend. And while picking this hero may not prevent your teammates from making all sorts of silly mistakes, it will allow you to fix them on their behalf. Thanklessly, of course. Now I already talked a little bit about why Dazzle can be such a bully in the lane with Poison Touch, but I think you need to know the numbers to understand that he truly is the 13th reason why. When the ability is level 2, for every second you're affected by Poison Touch at base values, you're going to be taking 28 damage a second and slowed by 18%. But wait, it gets worse, because every time he right-clicks you, the intensity of the slow will increase by 2.5%. After 4 right-clicks, which is fairly easy for him to achieve, his lane partner has probably realized that you're moving like a slug with a 28% movement speed slow. Once he unloads his spells, there's a very good chance that your screen is about to go gray. And when it does, you'll have to TP right back into the lane into the exact same situation. Go ahead and use that noggin of yours to think of how many heroes in the game have access to a Dispel or Strong Mobility tool before level 4. No matter how many you thought of, you're suddenly going to forget all of them in the second phase of a draft when you realize you're going to be laning against this guy. Now, full disclosure, I have indeed played Dota on an alternate account before, because we don't use the S word on this channel. When I played on that account, which for the record was a Dota buff certified normal skill zone, I would pick Dazzle, buy Brown Boots at level 1, cast Poison Touch at whoever was unlucky enough to find me in the jungle, and then just run them down at level 1. That is the kind of bullshit that Dazzle is capable of because of Poison Touch, and don't think that you have to be S-wording in order to do that. Lastly, I would like to clarify that this video is dedicated entirely to support Dazzle, but core Dazzle exists because of Poison Touch. If you can combine the movement speed slow from Poison Touch with the armor reduction from Desolator and your innate, you can play this hero as a ridiculous right-clicker mid. It only sneaks back into the meta every couple of years, but if it is available to play, you absolutely should do it at least once before Valve nerfs it into the ground with an ulti rework. Now that you know how annoying it is to play against a Dazzle in the lane, let's talk about how annoying it is to play against him in the mid game. Dazzle is a walking toolkit of healing and utility spells, and he's going to make sure that you are very familiar with every single one of them by the time an Ancient falls. Shallow Grave is already pretty self-explanatory. He's able to use it on allied heroes to delay their death and hopefully prevent it entirely, but what you may not have realized is how many absolutely ridiculous combos this opens up. Keep in mind that Nothal Projection basically gives him a Sicilian cast range on all of his spells. Even if you're attacking his core from really far away from the tower, as long as he can finish his TP, there's a good chance he can save them. This gives them enough time to use any of their escape options, so heroes like Riki and PA can use him as a blink target to get out of dodge. However, the really messed up ones are heroes that either have incredible lifesteal potential or can use that 1 HP status to their advantage. Pugna, for example, can sit there at 1 HP in the middle of a fight, unafraid of anything, to cast Decrepify and then suck ya soul. Huskar can hang around at just 1 HP, absolutely wailing on you with burning spears, because the HP costs are still available even if he's at 1 HP. These kinds of combos are way more common than you may initially expect, and remember that if he's in Nothal Projection, they get a big fat heal at the very end of it. Speaking of healing, Dazzle honestly might be a sleeper pick for the best healer in the game. He doesn't have access to percentage-based healing like Juggernaut, nor does he have the 100% uptime of Witch Doctor. But what he does have is a very low cooldown heal that affects multiple heroes and deals damage that he himself can amp by casting that heal again. Shadow Wave is a very strange ability, and it is one of multiple spells in this game that I think straight up lie to you. It says 145, and if you open up demo mode and use it on an allied hero that's taken damage, it'll heal for 145, but play against a Dazzle and tell me that it's only healing for 145. This ability heals like crazy, especially when it's on a 3.5 second cooldown during Nothal projection. Now the obvious use of this ability is to swing a team fight in your favor and then heal everyone up afterwards when you go to take a tower. However, it's also very good at just plucking entire creep waves away from your core players. A big tip for getting away with this without getting reported is to cast it on them as they walk up to farm, and then pretend that the bounce was an accident. If they get mad at you, the next time they get ganked, be sure to accidentally double tap Shallow Grave. Remember, they were going to report you anyway. Now, if all of this sounds appealing to you, or you're the kind of guy who spends the after party helping other people throw up, here's how to play Dazzle. You can play him as either a position 4 or 5, but either way, you're going to have to make a decision. Is this a babysitting lane where you're going to have to bodyguard your lane partner, or is it a baby punching lane where you're going to turn the enemy laner's life into a living hell? Either way, go ahead and get Poison Touch level 1 and use it to test the waters. Cast it on the enemy support and try to figure out if they know how your spell works. If they continue to sit there man-fighting while your own lane partner waddles over to join the fun, congratulations, you are now playing against a moron. However, if they have enough brain cells to read your abilities, they're probably going to start waddling away, in which case chase them as well as you can until it gets dangerous to do it anymore. At level 1, the ability has a 24-second cooldown, meaning that you can do this every single creep wave, and the mana cost is relatively manageable, though you'll probably want a clarity or two. If you really want to push the limits with your teammates, try to see how long you can go without getting a point in Shallow Grave without any of them noticing. If they get uppity, remind them that if they were good players, you'd never have to cast it in the first place. Just bully enemy laners and do general support things until the mid-game rolls around. Around this time, you should have arcane boots and at least the parts of a defensive item, and you're going to be stacking those as much as you can. All of your items can also be cast during Nothal projection, which artificially inflates their cast range to a Brazilian. Watch the map like a hawk, and if anyone on your team that you care about gets ganked, TP and try to help them out. Even if it doesn't ultimately save them, a well-timed Shallow Grave is going to inspire a lot of confidence in your team, and if you are able to turn the fight, they're going to love you forever. Still, you are a high-value support target, and you need to keep yourself alive in order to have any impact in fights. We once again return to the mantra of KYS, keep yourself safe. Now, Nothal projection does indicate to the enemy team where you are in the trees, and that means that if they have mobility tools, they can jump in and deal with your real body. However, Dazzle can end it early after at least 5 seconds, and you can then blow Shallow Grave and the rest of your defensive items on yourself. You'll probably still die, but it gives you a couple more seconds to spam Shadow Wave on your teammates. Lastly, know that there are a bunch of other heroes that you completely counter with Shallow Grave. Legion Commander is an obvious one. If you cast Shallow Grave on her dual target, they won't die, and she won't get any damage. Pretty much the exact same thing is true for Necrophos. If you can use Shallow Grave on the target of Reaper's Scythe, they're not going to die, he doesn't get his Seda stacks, nor does he get his permanent scaling effect. Last thing to note is that during every Dazzle game, you will get a Siren's Call in the back of your head telling you to buy an Aghanim Scepter. This makes Shadow Wave do a bunch of shit that basically boils down to a ton of damage. It's also a core part of Dazzleator, but if your plan was to cosplay as your team's eventual 4th core, you wouldn't have picked Dazzle in the first place. You would have picked Hoodwink or Dark Willow or some other hero that Redditors are strangely attracted to. Wait, there's a bit of a pattern there. Is Valve doing that on purpose? I always found Dota's armor system strange, and the way that Dazzle interacts with it even stranger. I wrote a little bit about that here. Feel free to read it if you like. Now, if you're tired of losing to this hero, or you have some kind of weird murderous Oedipus complex, here's how to beat Dazzle. First off, anti-heal should be a priority pickup from at least one hero on your team. Scotty and Spirit Vessel are very strong, but they only apply to one hero, and I don't know why I didn't put a photo of it, but Shiva's Guard is actually my recommendation. Dazzle can heal pretty much his entire team with Shadow Grave and with those abilities, and so having the anti-heal aura on Shiva's Guard will make it easier to counter it. Nothal projection is also a very annoying ability to deal with because it can feel like he's completely invincible. However, the trail that leads away from the ghost will tell you exactly where he is. If you have mobility tools either built into your character or from items like Blink Dagger or Shadow Blade, you can use those to get on top of him and deal with him early. Now these traits belong to plenty of different heroes in Dota. Ancient Apparition and Doom completely shut down healing, no questions asked, and Oracle is a very strong source of dispels for dealing with Poison Touch. However, Slark is probably the single best core to counter this hero. He can use Dark Pact on reaction to get rid of Poison Touch, and because Shallow Grave keeps the hero alive, he can now use it to farm Essence Shift stacks. Also, according to Dotabuff, Underlord is the single best hero to pick against Dazzle, and after about 14 seconds of thinking about it, I can't figure out why. If you know why, please join the Discord and tell me about it. The last option is to just cheese him. Axe's Culling Blade very famously cuts through Shallow Grave, basically nullifying the ability. On top of that, Poison Touch is one of only a handful of abilities in the game that proc the Hero Deny effect. If your ally is affected by the ability and is clearly about to leave his mortal coil, you can instead hit him with a cheeky right click and deny the kill entirely. They will still die, but Dazzle will not get any of the gold or XP from the kill, nor will anyone else on his team. Plus, it's very funny. Ultimately, Dazzle is one of those heroes that you kind of just have to grin and bear it when playing against, but if you can keep all of these tips in mind, it'll be a little bit easier to deal with all of his bullshit. In conclusion, Dazzle is a responsible hero, and you should absolutely play him. He's nowhere near as bad as Clinks, but Valve likes to go in and fiddle with his ultimate every couple of years, and I have a feeling we're due for a rework soon. For all we know, next patch might be the return of self-harm powered Midas Dazzle. Peace on planet Earth.